And if you've never walked into Market Square with thousands of people cheering you on, you're the main event at that moment. And it's pretty cool. It's amazing. Magical.
There's so much joy in the parade.
Welcome to Real Women's Work.
I'm a production designer and set decorator for feature film and television shows.
News stories.
I am an advocate for crime victims.
From real women.
I founded a website called Family Travel Magazine.
About how they work.
My work is as an orofacial myologist.
Every week.
I am a professional circus artist and entertainer.
Subscribe now.
I work for my county jail and I am a nurse there.
Subscribe to the Real Women's Work podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. The Portsmouth Halloween Parade is so special. If you've ever been, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is not your typical parade. It's more like a moving art installation, and the vibe of the evening is something that so many of us value so much. So I had really been wanting to talk to somebody about how that happens. How does the magic that happens that night come to be? Amanda Giles is an organizer of the Portsmouth Halloween Parade and has been doing it for quite a while. And in this conversation, she gives us insight into what makes the night so special, how things have to happen and line up for it to be so. She talks about the efforts that go on all year to bring the parade to fruition. She gives tips for first timers. It is such an insightful and special episode. Whether or not you are from the Seacoast area, I think you'll resonate with a lot of what's being said in this episode. I do want to give one caveat. I made a mistake. I'm recording on a new software that I'm not used to yet. And rather than plugging into my microphone to record my own voice for this episode, I managed to use the microphone on my little earbuds that I put in so nobody can see these big honking headphones when I record. So I spent hours, dozens of hours, trying to figure out a way to improve this audio, but it is what it is. You can hear it. It's clear. You know what's being said, but it's not this smooth sound that you're hearing right now. So I apologize for that. I wish I could have fixed it, but I'm human. I make mistakes. I'm learning, and this is the only time you'll hear it sound like it's coming through the microphone of earbuds. But this is an amazing episode, and I'm so grateful to Amanda for taking the time to talk with us. So let's listen.
When I tell people about the Portsmouth Halloween Parade, one of the first things I say to them is, but it's not what you're thinking it is. It is not your typical parade. And I guess my first question for you, Amanda, is why is that? What makes the Portsmouth Halloween Parade so different?
That is a great question, Jen. And thanks for having me. The parade, I think, is so special for a couple reasons. One is just the immense creativity in Portsmouth. The amount of costumes you see that people have labored over, that people have thought about. Sometimes they're political, sometimes they're very tongue-in-cheek. Sometimes it's like big groups of dancers and puppets, stilt walkers. I mean, it's sure you see the occasional costume that probably came out of a package, but it's so in the minority. The creativity of the community really shines through on that night. And the other thing that's really special about the parade is, even though they let us take over the streets of downtown Portsmouth, it's not a city parade. It's not the holiday parade where you see a bunch of like floats for businesses and kind of like stayed marching through. It's really something that just kind of slithers through the dark heart of Portsmouth that they let us do. You can come and let your freak flag fly, and it's just very magical. And part of that magic, I think, is that it springs out of the community. It's supported by the community, and it really reflects the creativity of the community.
I love that you said that, Amanda, because as I was getting ready to talk with you, I was thinking so much more about this question that I knew I was going to ask you. And the only answer that I could come up with that you just put so beautifully is it's like a Halloween parade Portsmouthified. Like it's the all the beautiful things that make Portsmouth seem to just come out in that parade. And as I've described it to people, when I've said it's not your typical parade, what I've followed it up with is it's more like a moving art installation.
Mm. Yeah, it's of the people, for the people, by the people. Anyone can march, which is pretty magical. I mean, if you've never walked into Market Square with thousands of people cheering you on, you're the main event at that moment, and it's pretty cool. It's amazing, magical.
There's so much joy in the parade, in the environment. I mean, I was thinking about I've marched once, and thinking of Pierce Island, starting on Pierce
Yeah.
Island, so
Right.
hours ahead of the parade. All the, like you
Just
say,
1 hour ahead.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Well, I guess we got there really early
It,
then, and
it feels like hours when you're waiting for the parade to start. Sometimes.
Well, we actually like brought our dinner and we went and we parked and we had a little picnic
Nice.
before so it was, yeah. So, and then, so I guess we really got to watch that joy in that environment build because we were definitely some of the first people
The
there.
early
So
people night.
watching everybody show up and feeling that joy build and build from all the organizers, all the volunteers, what is it that you call the folks who like make sure everybody's okay? And
Oh, so we have minions who are our volunteers at events, and then at the parade itself we have marshals who carry a flag, and we give them a little like sheriff type badge, and they just help keep the parade in line. They help let us know if there's any issues that are coming up, um, that we need to be alerted to. So yeah, and they're all volunteers.
one of the things, I don't pretend to know a lot about parades or organizing, but one of the things that feels magical to me about the parade is there are so many people who march, so many people who attend. I mean, the city, there's no parking left. It is jammed with people. And it flows, from my perspective, I've gone many, 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 many years. From my perspective, it flows so smoothly. Everybody is in a good mood. And the city has nothing to do with it. And I'm only saying it is so truly 100% run by volunteers. How does that happen, Amanda?
With some blood, sweat, and tears. And I will say the city doesn't put on the parade, but they are definitely a partner with us. So we do have to apply for the permit, and we do have conversations with the police about making sure they feel the route is safe and everything. And they, of course, provide the police presence, although we pay for it. And they provide the barricades and all that, DPW. So I just want to say that they're a great partner, even though they don't really put on the parade. And we really like it that way because we don't want them to be running the show for us. And now I lost the thread of your original question. Oh, how do we make it happen?
So smoothly and everybody being in good moods when there's so much going on.
Right. So I think it's because we put in all the work beforehand. The people who get to participate in the parade just show up. And hopefully, yes, it all does flow smoothly. Somebody helps you figure out where to go. And we've got like a little bullhorn we'll use on Pierce Island to try to let people know what's happening. And a lot of people just come year after year, and we do it the same time, the same day. We have, we've been using the same route for years. We did make a change at one point for safety. So we used to go up Bow Street, and we don't now. And that was about getting emergency vehicles through if there was ever an issue. So the route's pretty steady. And I don't know. I guess I could say it's because of our great team and our prep work that everything flows smoothly. But I also just think there's a little bit of magic there. The weather can be unpredictable, but it almost always cooperates. And it's Halloween. And the Halloween parade gives everybody a chance to, I think, feel that magic like when they were a kid. So when you're a kid, you have trick or treating, you have the lure of candy and being in costume. And then you go through some years where maybe you're not doing that, or maybe you're going to parties with your friend's house. But this is like on a big scale again. You know, when you were a kid going trick-or-treating, it was a big deal because all the other kids were out in the neighborhood and you were part of this big thing that was happening. And I think the parade is like that for families and adults, is that you're part of this bigger happening. And that just doesn't happen as much these days, and it's pretty special.
I guess you're helping me understand, Amanda, why I have wanted to talk to somebody from the parade for so long, because you're getting at what it feels like to not just attend that night, but to look forward to it coming up. Like that
Mm,
countdown timer on the website is, I think, how so many of us are feeling like we're so excited for this event. And I that resonated with me when you said that being there does feel magical.
mm,
It feels like there's this other energy that happens, that everybody just feels invested. Just those of us that just show up feel invested in making it successful. So maybe we're a little bit kinder to the person who's trying to get by. You know, we try to figure out, who's going to park here, who's going to park there. Like it just feels like everybody's working together,
mm.
no matter
Everybody's
how
part of
little we.
that energy and magic that's happening, whether you realize it or not, you know? We wouldn't have a parade if nobody showed up, you know? It wouldn't be the same parade if it wasn't everybody gathering. And so, conscious of it or not, all of the energy of those participants and that excitement is, it's part of what's in the air and part of the. I feel like I'm going to use this word magic too many times today, but it is a bit of magic, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of magic, and yeah, that group energy is part of it. It really is.
And it seems to me that part of that magic is created also by, I say this every single year that I go. You mentioned at the beginning how much effort people put in, sometimes all year, into their costumes.
Yeah.
And yet, even if you go, like I frequently go in just my street clothes, I don't wear a costume, and I just go and I am just a true spectator. Watching people either march or who are also spectating, seeing them in the incredibly creative and the time investment they put into their costumes does something to me,
Mm,
to remind me about playfulness and sometimes silliness, or using resources and creativity, using resources in a way I wouldn't expect to.
yeah.
We're like almost, and overwhelmed is the wrong word, but inundated with that night, and that's got to be part of the magic.
I think it is. I mean, I think you can be there. And I remember one of the photos of last year was like a family in like robot costumes. And if you really deconstruct that costume, it's some cardboard boxes with some paint. And I think there might have been some, duct something from Home Depot, for the legs or something. Um, if people are just really original and that's the value of it. Like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to spend all year on your costume. Some people do, some people don't, but just people take the time and effort and it's people bring a lot to it.
And
And
then
even if you
when
don't, you know, I mean, coming not in costume is fine too, but I love that you spoke to feeling inspired, it sounds like you were saying, by that. And that's great. That's what we hope for.
that is what it is, you're right. And I think it's easy to forget what actual being inspired actually feels like, but that is what it is. And also, you mentioned the robot family. So even for those of us who are in street clothes, something spontaneously, involuntarily happens so often throughout the parade, where we say, "Oh my gosh, look at that." And we're pointing and we feel our energy, like we're up on our tiptoes and we're almost bouncing around, so excited
Yeah.
observing this.
Yeah.
So, Amanda, how long have you been with the Portsmouth Halloween Parade as an organizer?
Uh, so I will say the first time I marched in the parade, I believe was 1999 or 2000. So the parade was pretty young then. It started in 95. I started volunteering in 2011. I would tend to go to like the rock show, I think usually over at the coat of arms. And I realized, oh, those people are just selling t-shirts. They're just volunteers. And I was like, I would like to hang out with these people and volunteer, make the parade happen. And so I started uh, volunteering, what we call minioning, which we started using that term long before the yellow minions of movie fame came out. So we've had to think about whether we want to keep using that term. But I started volunteering, and then some years later, I think 2017, so maybe 6 years later, they were looking for more board members. Um, and although the fun thing is we don't call our board the board of directors, like we kind of call it that occasionally for other people, but internally we call it the coven, which is just much more fun to say. I'm on the coven. So
Absolutely.
in 2017, I stepped up and I thought, oh, I'd never been on a board of directors. I'd done kind of smaller organizing, but I I thought I could do that. I can use my organizational skills that way, and it was a great fit. And somebody on the board at the time was like, "Oh, I was hoping you know, you might message us." And so they said, "Yes, we'd love to have you on the board." And the rest is this history, I guess. I've been on the board ever since, although I am stepping down after this year.
What's it like organizing this?
Uh, Chaos. And a lot of fun. So the best part about it is I get to organize it with 5 other people who are extremely passionate about the parade. And then, of course, there's a whole bunch of volunteers beyond that who are excited every year about the parade. And so appreciative. People are always like, what can we do? So I have a great team with me. We're not very hierarchical. We don't really have roles. We all take on certain events, and we all shift between duties as needed. But there is a lot that goes into it. So, first of all, we have to get the insurance, obviously, to have the parade. We have to get the police there. And then to make that happen, we have to raise a lot of money. So we sell t-shirts and hoodies. We come up with a new design every year. The artist Chris Smith, who was one of the founders of the parade, did the design for years. We didn't do shirts from the very beginning. I don't recall exactly what year they started doing shirts, but he did the design year after year. And then after 2019, he decided to take a break. And so then we started a rotating crew where we'd have a different artist every year, which was really cool. And then this year, because it's our 30th year, Chris has come back and created the design for this year, which is this beautiful, like, ghost owl with the eyes missing, with the wings spread. And so we sell merchandise. And then the other big thing we do is raffles. So we have on our major events, we have raffle baskets that are comprised of all these donations from businesses that we raffle off to people. We sell raffle tickets, in the singles, or we say you can buy a wingspan and you can find the tallest person nearby who's willing to spread their arms for you and measure out the tickets. And it becomes a great fun, and it's a great way to raise money. So I don't know if I lost the thread there, but it's part of the
No, no,
how
you
the
you
magic
didn't.
happens.
So when you're getting ready, and this is the 30th parade, so that feels exciting and incredible. I was watching, getting ready for this, I was watching some of the very first parade that you
Oh,
have up
yes.
on the website. And it's so interesting to me. I wasn't at the first parade, but it's so interesting to me that the vibe feels like it has stayed consistent all the way through, even though it's
Mm.
grown so much. Is that, I mean, that's just from a video. Do you feel like with the changes that have obviously had to happen, is that an accurate perception?
I think so. I think the vibe has stayed the same, but I think it's largely because the people who've carried the torch over the years have worked hard to keep it that way. So there's been a very intentional, even as the parade has grown. So the parade was I'm not super familiar at the beginning, but there was Dino and Chris Smith and some other people who started this. It came out of the Button Factory Studios, and the Jumbo Circus Peanuts, who are a great local band. They actually formed to play for that first parade because a lot of their members were in the Button Factory Studios. Some of them still are, I believe. And so they formed for that first parade. They went down the streets. And over the years, it's been taken on by different people. At one point, Trevor Bartlett was basically running it as a one-man show. And I say that only that he was, he was the parade for a little while. He was making sure everything happened. And as it got bigger, he decided to step back. And that's when another team of people came in and said, okay, we're going to formalize this. We're going to put some, some more structure in place to make sure, always with the goal of making the parade sustainable and to continue to be community supported. So another group of people stepped in, kind of took it to the next level, and that was the beginning of the board, the coven that we have now. And so people have come on and off over time as they've felt called to step up, but it's always been very important to us to keep it run by the community, to keep it, free and open to everyone. Everyone can march in the parade, and everyone can support the parade in their own way. And that's just been really, really important to us. And I think it's kept the spirit of the parade, is that it's been so key. We always kind of want to stay that ragtag group of people putting together the parade, kind of in the semi-dark. But making it happen and keeping it alive.
It just feels remarkable to me that it has sustained for 30 years and kept this same feeling that you just described. When do you, so let's pretend we're not just a very short time away from this year's parade. When will you start planning for the next parade? When does that happen?
It's almost a year-round thing. It's not quite. It really depends. So in November, there's still kind of some stuff that's still going on. We're trying in November to thank people who've donated during the parade and supported. We basically, rather than try to keep up with thanking people as the season goes on, we like to stack them up as gratitude posts in November. So we're finishing filling out orders for the website, maybe making a last t-shirt run and thanking people. And then really December, nothing happens. January, usually nothing happens. But by February, usually we're starting to get together again. And then, and not all the time, I'd say by February, we're getting together once a month and starting to have more conversations, because we're really trying to figure out at that point, which events are we keeping? Are we trying to do new events? People are always coming in at the last minute and saying, hey, I'd love to do an event for you. A lot of people aren't thinking about Halloween until September or October. And then a business will come up to us and be like, oh, I have this great idea for an event. And at that point, we've got our calendar booked. We're printing our postcards. We've got stuff lined up. So it's a little late at that point to really do a new event, unless it's something they just want to take on their own, which we are very supportive. We love low lift events. So December, January is basically the downtime. February, we start meeting. By April, April, May, we're trying to lock in the major keystone events that we're doing. And we've also started doing a halfway to Halloween event. And that's really just because we don't like to wait till Halloween. And we thought, wouldn't it be great to have a Halloween event where it's going to be warm and you could wear a warm costume? And also, it just keeps
Fun.
people thinking about Halloween. The last couple of years, we got really lucky because the first weekend in May included May the 4th. So we went with a Star Wars theme for 2 years in a row on a
Nice.
Saturday and a Sunday. So I don't know what we'll do next year, but it's been fun to do. We do that as more of a kids event where we've had a scavenger hunt and activities for kids and a little costume contest for the kids. And then in the summer, we're really just continuing to button things up. Who is the Grand Marshal going to be? What are the conversations we're having with them? Who are the bands that are going to play at the rock show? What is our merchandise going to look like? Things like that. And then over the past few years, we've also started doing more administrative work. So we became a nonprofit a couple of years ago. And so now we're trying to work through getting our charitable license in effect, which is an extra step in New Hampshire. It's a bunch of paperwork and stuff to get to be able to run charitable games or be the beneficiary of charitable things like bingo or casinos and stuff like that. So kind of working on that stuff behind the scenes. But yeah, there's a lot of little pieces, signing people up. So by August, September, we're printing merchandise. We're figuring out how many volunteers we want for different events. We're putting out the call to our volunteers saying, which events would you like to work at? And putting out social media posts, putting out email blasts. The events are no good if nobody shows up. So really trying hard to get the word out, which has gotten a lot harder, in this current landscape of people being less enamored with Facebook and Facebook being less enamored of showing people posts. And, we finally got ourselves on TikTok, and we have a new board member who's Shay, who's just been kicking ass, creating a lot more social media content than we were before. So that's been really helpful. But yeah, at this point, it's about getting people to events, and then pretty soon it'll be about reminding people that everybody can march in the parade, and we do have a handful of rules, so here are those. But yeah, at this point, it's almost like calm down in a sense. Like we still have the parade itself, but the main organizing bits are kind of winding down. Everything's kind of locked into place, and now we get to just go have fun at the events.
So the events that you're talking about, those are the ones on your website. And are those fundraising events?
Yeah, so the ones that are on our website and also on our Facebook page are various fundraising events, and um, they differ a little bit. Most of the events are ones where, by fundraising, I mean we're going to show up and we'll have T-shirts, we'll have hoodies, and we'll do a raffle basket. Some events we won't have a raffle if it's a more like a longer period of time where there's not a set show thing happening. We won't necessarily do a raffle basket, but the merchandise is a big deal, and the raffle baskets are a huge deal, and they're a huge way that businesses around town support us by giving us things that we package into the baskets and do those. So those are the two major ways. We're also constantly reminding people, especially since we became a nonprofit, that that we accept donations of any size, and we have some great business partners who do events where they don't really need a lot from us, where they're just giving for the love of giving. So, for instance, Grim North Tattoo has been doing a tattoo flash day. They've done 2 of them in the past 5 years, and we're blessed they're going to do one again. They don't need anything from us to do that. We help advertise it, and people come and get their Halloween themed tattoos, and then Grim North gives us a bunch of money afterwards from that event, and we really appreciate them. And then other events were much more organized, much more like we're involved in. Things like the rock show is a big event that we do every year. That's where we announce our grand marshal. What we call pass the sash. So the former grand marshal comes, and we do a passing of the sash to the new grand marshal, and have our T-shirts and our rock bands playing. And then we have other events in between. This year we have a show with Lady Luck Burlesque, which is our second time doing that. Yeah, and then just smaller events like we do Flatbread Community Night every year. They've been a great partner, and they do great community nights for all sorts of organizations. But when we go, a portion of the sales, from all the pizzas that night go to us, and then they let us set up and take over take over the front of their shop so we can sell T-shirts and everything. And
The Grand Marshal is an exciting part of the parade, right? That's kept under wraps until the big announcement.
it
Is
is
that
the
right?
big yes, it is the big secret of the Portsmouth Halloween Parade. And it's interesting. There's also a little bit of lore around it that is has been passed down, and the lore around it is that there are only 2 rules around grand marshal. One is that you cannot ask to be the grand marshal, and the second rule is that you cannot refuse to be the grand marshal. Now there's really no way
Okay.
to enforce that, but we did one year somebody guessed that they were about to be asked to be the grand marshal, and they were like, "Oh, no, no," which is really funny. So there's kind of little sideways around that if somebody really doesn't want to. But that's the lore that came down with us, and we try to maintain that. And it is the secret that we keep very close to our chests until the rock show is traditionally when we announce it. And this year will actually be our 30th parade and our 20th rock show. So It's
When have you decided? Can you share? Like, is there a certain date you've decided by who is going to be the grand marshal?
I think in recent years, basically, we keep a running list of people that we've thought about. So last year, we already knew who we were going to ask this year. And so we asked that person much earlier in the year. I think we told them in February or March. And that's to give them plenty of time to think about what they might want to do. We offer for the grand marshal to do something if they want. They can have their own group marching at the front of the parade. And sometimes the grand marshal likes to do something special. Like one of our grand marshals wanted to be burned in the square like a Salem witch. And one of our grand marshals was a musician, so he got on stage with his band to play in Market Square. And sometimes it's just a group of, a group of dancers, like the Thriller dancers were the grand marshal one year, and Monster Troupe, which is another huge group in the parade that dances and has puppets stuff. They were the grand marshal one year to honor them. So sometimes there's a bit of a spectacle. Sometimes it's just a big group of people on theme. The year that Judy from Seacoast Roller Derby was the grand marshal, she had a Star Wars theme, and so a bunch of people of various sizes in Star Wars costumes on skates. It was really adorable. So we do give them a little leeway to do something special if they want, but we encourage them, if they're going to be gathering a group of people, that they tell as few people as possible. So, we encourage them. It's like, you can tell people that you're getting a group together to march in the parade without telling them it's going to be at the front of the parade. So, yeah, it's fun. It's
Well,
really the only moment. We don't get paid for our efforts, but we do get to keep this. We do get to keep the fun secret, and people want to know. And it's not gonna lie, it's kind of fun to be in on the secret. I'm gonna miss not being in on it when I retire.
Well, you just gave such a great segue because the episode airing after yours is the beginning of a series about the Salem witch trials. So I am actually going to
Oh,
see if I can't find a clip of that grand marshal show there and see it, that I can share if it's already on social media. So you talked about the Thriller dancers and the Monster Troupe, and you kind of, those roll off your tongue now because you've been doing this so long. They are incredible groups in the parade. The Thriller group, is that unique to Portsmouth? Is that like a national thing, or is that unique to Portsmouth?
I mean, it's unique to Portsmouth in that it started in Portsmouth. It's a group of local people who got the idea and maintain it. I'm sure there are some other groups around, that do it at other parades, but I don't know specifically of any. I'm sure it's happened before. I don't know if it happens on a regular basis at other parades, even if it has. I'm sure it has happened, but I don't know if other Halloween parades have a dedicated group. I mean, this group is so dedicated, they've basically become synonymous with the parade. I have a set email text that I drop back to the number of people who message us every year and say, "Oh, how do I get in the dancing, the group?" Because people assume that we're one and the same, and we're very closely aligned, but we're two separate organizations. So I have a little snippet that I just paste in the email and say, "Here's how you can find them," and good luck, because it's very competitive.
Yes, I believe I've gotten that snippet from you, and I have never made it into the group. I keep missing I don't, but yes, it's amazing. It's I guess tell people if people haven't been to the parade, maybe tell people what the Thriller group is, though it's hard to put words around, I imagine.
No, I can put words around it. So the Thriller group is one of the two larger groups that is in the parade every year, the other one being Monster Troupe. And the Thriller group is dedicated to doing the Thriller dance from Michael Jackson's Thriller. But every year their secret, just like our Grand Marshal is a secret, their theme is something they try to keep a secret, but they come up with a theme for their costumes that is always, then zombified. So high school marching band, zombies. Barbie and Ken, zombies. I think last year it was like wedding clothes. They were like dressed very formally for weddings, a bunch of brides, zombies. So and then they dance together. They hold auditions for who is the who is the Michael of the group, who is the lead dancer up front, who's going to set the pace for them. And they practice. They are a huge hit in the parade. For a lot of people, they are the parade. Um, every once in a while, that's a little that's a little frustrating for all the rest of it that goes into it. But they are fantastic. And they're a huge hit. We put them at the back of the parade because everybody wants to see them, and it makes sure that everybody's staying for all of the other excitement that happens in the parade. And then the Monster Troupe is a group that's run by Holly Cook, and she has this amazing artistry and vision, and she brings to life usually huge puppets, sometimes with some animatronics. There's a lot that goes into her group, and she has dancers. She has a choreographer who creates the dances every year, and so they have a lot of group work that they do to build structures, puppets, matching costumes, poles, whatever it is that they're holding. So they are just very slick, very put together. They put an immense amount of work all year round. They're working on that, and it's very impressive. It's very impressive.
Monster Troupe, without fail, every year, I absolutely feel like a kid again when I see them. When I see them, that just sense of wonder and awe and just mesmerized, not even thinking about how they did it or how it all came together, but what I'm looking at, and not on a screen, not in some like faraway place, like right here in front of me. It's
Right.
incredible what they do.
Yeah. And I mean, they are so meticulous and so, they engineer their solutions so well. Like when I, there was a point where they were trying to do something big, and it was back when our route went down Bow Street, and they measured like what's the width of the street, to make sure we can pass. Like that's the kind of detail they're out there measuring. Like, okay, the underpass that we go under near Prescott Park after we take off from Pierce Island, they're like, how high is that? We need to make sure that we clear it. So they're out there, just amazing engineering and puppetry and just detail that they bring to what they do, and it shows. It does. It looks like magic. They come on, and you would think you're paying to see. Uh, you know, you would think that you were seeing a paid group of artists and performers, but and certainly it takes a lot of funds to do that, but they do it out of the love of doing it and for the parade, and we all get to be the beneficiaries of that, and that's part of the magic.
It is a gift that they give us. It really is. It's incredible to see it. And I stand in different places each year, and some years I've stood at Prescott Park, basically by the gardens, to watch everybody come over the bridge from Pierce Island. And I feel it right now when I am able to like recollect seeing everybody and seeing them come over the bridge and round that corner and, head down between Strawberry Bank and Prescott Park and past, these historically amazing places with this incredible artistry that they've given everybody who wants to go watch it. It's so meaningful.
Yeah, it's an amazing, powerful gift.
And then so we have Thriller, which is so fun and so interesting and so interesting and neat to learn about how much they practice to prepare. There's nothing quick about their like this is a prepared performance for them, the Thriller
Right.
group.
Well, and they excel at what they do in that we've had other groups that come in and try to dance, and Monster Troupe and Thriller both know the drill is that you have to dance and be able to move forward at the same time. So it does take a lot of practice, and they do fantastic.
And then I don't know if this was new last year or the year before. It was the first time I remember seeing that there are now Mrs. Ropers in the parade. Is that new?
I believe last year was the first year. Yes. Yes. So earlier in the year, there had been a gathering of Mrs. Ropers And I guess they had so much fun. They said, let's go to the Halloween parade. There were a couple Mr. Ropers in there. And, but yeah, there was a huge contingent of them. And yeah, it was really fun to watch. And there's some other groups that are there's always, at least for the past 9 years or so, there's been a group of handmaids that are often in the parade as well.
Yes. And
Which
those
is,
costumes are phenomenal.
yeah.
I cut you off. What were you going to say, Amanda?
Oh no, I was just musing on the fact that one of the things we say for the parade is that there's no corporate or political solicitation. And people sometimes get confused sometimes and they're like, oh, but you definitely have political things in the parade. And the line for us is, are you making a political statement or are you saying like, here's my sign, vote for me? And we don't take the latter, but we do welcome political statements of all kinds. There's a group that comes in, it's not a huge group, but they have a banner about with skeletons on it that says basically like I think symbols of different world religions, and it says like underneath we're all the same. And the leftist marching band is usually there with some kind of theme. The Grand Marshal last year decided to go as to celebrate the bees. Mike Nelson, our former Portsmouth Poet Laureate, was our Grand Marshal last year. And so he had a whole group of people dressed up as bees because they're so important to the planet, including the leftist marching band. So we do welcome political statements, absolutely, just not solicitation. So yeah, it's fun.
Why do you think the Portsmouth Halloween Parade matters so much to so many people?
I mean, I think you said it earlier yourself in this talk, is that it brings this magic and this creativity, and it makes you feel a sense of awe and wonder, and we don't get enough of that these days. And I think it just comes through that it comes from the community. That it's really of the community. It really reflects, I think, some of the best parts of our community.
And it is community.
Yeah.
I've been learning more and more about understanding more and more the importance of community. I'd never understood it until the last few years. And I guess as we're talking about this, it's again clarifying for me in my mind the things that I have felt over the years at the Portsmouth Halloween Parade. And when I was talking before about we all are a little more aware of each other, making sure, the shorter ones can be in the front to see and the taller ones are in the back. And, let's figure this parking situation out and all of these things. I guess that all is a sense of community. And
Yeah.
maybe because we all are outside of ourselves for that parade, part of this magic, there's something greater. There's just this true community happening for that night that just, I think, maybe feels really good for all of us to feel.
It often feels like a little spell has been cast over Portsmouth for the night. There is that sense, like you said, of like just goodwill and magic and mystery. And I think in general, people, yeah, they're a little kinder to each other, and a little more curious about one another. And of course you have little kids there as well who are just, anytime you're around, kids and their sense of awe, I think that rubs off on us. And we all get to be kids for the night. But I do think it has its own spell on the community that night.
It really does feel that way. And it's why I have a hard time when I tell people you have to go to the Portsmouth Halloween Parade. No, it's not what you're thinking it is.
Experience it.
You do. How do you encapsulate that to say, no, there's a spell cast on the community that night but really there's just something.
I don't tell people there's an actual spell. That would scare them.
100%. But that there really is a magical sense of community happening that night. Community combined with playfulness and joy and all of these things that I think just connects us in a way that we all had forgotten mattered so much. That's my experience. I'm not just as a spectator and a martyr one year. It's just so incredibly magical. So for those who have not been to the Portsmouth, and so often when I tell people about the Portsmouth Halloween Parade, they say, "Oh, I always mean to go. I always mean to go." And I do think it's helpful for people to have a little more of the unknowns known, right? When they're trying something new in general.
Yeah.
So Portsmouth I mean, that has to be, is it the busiest night in Portsmouth all year?
Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure because the holiday parade is also very busy. That's the
Yes.
city parade, Market Square Day. Um, so I don't know, but it is thousands of people, um, tens of thousands, I believe, who descend on Portsmouth. And so yeah, it might be the busiest night. But
And
even if it's not, I mean, it is one of the busiest nights, definitely.
it's so busy. And again, just to reiterate one more time as we move into talking about like tips for first timers, it is so busy, but the atmosphere is, to use your words, so full of goodwill and so
Mm.
full of uh, kindness and playfulness that it doesn't feel hard. Doesn't feel hard to be there. So what should people know if they're coming for the first time? If it's parking, if it's wearing a costume, where to watch from, all those kinds of things.
So, um, one thing I definitely recommend is just plan to get to town early. Don't the parade is always on Halloween. It's always at 7 o'clock. And that's when we step off from Pierce Island. So if you are interested in wearing a costume and being in the parade, you can go to Pierce Island. But I recommend, coming into town, an hour or two earlier, get yourself parked, get a little food, patronize a local business, chill out in town or walk around. It's usually still very nice and light out at that point. And it gets dark as the parade starts, but by 5 or 6, it's still light. So come early if you want, but no, come early. Period. Don't wait until 5 minutes before 7. You will not find a parking space. You will find sidewalks already mobbed. So come early. Give yourself the time to find parking. If you want to march in the parade, you can come to Pierce Island anytime before. I would say aim to be there by 6:30. Even 6:45 you could sneak on. But you can come, by 6 o'clock, there's already people gathering. You can come earlier, have a little fun with your friends like Jen did. The other thing you can do is you can just find a spot on the route that you want to watch the parade from. You can find the map on our website. It's a pretty simple route through downtown. And you, as long as you're not stuck behind a barricade, which there are some sidewalks have barricades, but many do not, you can just jump into the parade. There's no gatekeeping. We do have a few rules for the parade, like don't have any horses or motorized vehicles or open flames, and don't throw things. I might have missed. I think the only other rule is the corporate and political solicitation. So very few rules, and you can jump in and jump out and see the parade and really uh, experience the magic. When you're in the parade, you sometimes don't see quite as many costumes, so it is. I think fun, especially if it's your first time to jump out of the parade and see some more people go by and just get a full glimpse of what's in the parade. But yeah, you can march in the parade. When you go to Pierce Island, there'll be people there to guide you. So if you're part of a larger group, you'll go in one direction. If you're just an individual marcher, you'll go the other way. There'll be marshals in the parade with flags, and there are people that you can ask questions of, or if they ask you to, move back onto the sidewalk or stop blocking the path or something, then we just ask that you listen to them, respect their authority. So yeah.
Marching is very easy, made very easy by the marshals. That was
Yes.
100% our experience. We never wondered about what we were supposed to be doing. It felt very easy. It just felt, which again, I marveled at, given not only how many people were on Pierce Island, but how many new people were on Pierce Island who had no idea what we were supposed to be doing. But man, you all just, you guide us so well. And Amanda, those are great first tips. And again, our preferred way to attend the parade when we can is to get out there a couple of hours early, plan the night, take the time, block the time off, park the car. We usually pick up sandwiches from the works and then we'll go sit somewhere and eat our sandwiches. Because a lot of people come in early and they come in their costumes and it's just so fun
Yeah.
from the
It's fun just to walk
afternoon.
around town beforehand or walk around Pierce Island and see what people are wearing and doing. Yeah.
It's so fun. And I mean, my gosh, on like, especially when the weather's nice, which actually I think I've only attended when the weather has been nice, to be in Portsmouth in decent weather or good weather with all of these awesome people who are so happy to be doing this around you. It's just, it's such an awesome, awesome night, and going in early is great. So you've mentioned that you do these events leading up to the parade as fundraisers, and it sounds like that's what a lot of your year is spent planning, the events leading up to the parade.
Yeah.
And I know you don't, or my understanding is that you don't actually take corporate sponsorships for the parade. Is that right?
Not during the actual parade. So we don't do corporate solicitation within the parade. Um, but we do sometimes do corporate sponsorship for particular events. So, for instance, one of our events is a pumpkin smash at the Portsmouth Farmers Market, in which we, um, hand adults and children implements of destruction and a slightly soft pumpkin and a tree stump and let them go to town. So we used to be covered under the insurance for the Portsmouth Farmers Market, and they switched who was running that. And then they were like, you have to get your own insurance. And it turns out insurance companies are a little squeamish about giving people baseball bats and mallets and letting them swing at things. And so our insurance costs started going up tremendously. We've had to like implement waivers and bring safety goggles. And so part of what we have done to try to offset that cost is that we are doing sponsorship for that particular event. So basically that means, depending on the size of the donation, we have different tiers for the sponsorship, and then we'll have a banner thanking that that um, that company or person, organization. But we'll never in the parade have like a banner in front saying, brought to you by Eversource or something. That's never gonna happen in the parade. That's the one of our key our core values, I would say, of the parade is not having that corporate or political solicitation.
So for those who want to support the parade, how can we do that?
Ah, well, obviously come march in the parade because there is no parade without the people. But as far as helping to make the parade actually happen, there are a number of great ways you can come to our events. You can buy merchandise. And if you can't make it to an event, you can buy merchandise on our website, portsmouthhalloweenparade.org. You can just make a donation. We definitely take cash. If you're a business or you know people who run businesses, you can ask for donations for our raffles. Again, we put together these amazing raffle baskets. The value of the baskets is usually anywhere from like $400 to sometimes up to $1,000, especially near the end of the season. If people start to finally accumulate donations, they're like, oh, I got you this thing I've been trying to get you all month. And so sometimes the end of the month events have the biggest baskets because we just still have all of these last minute things. So donating things to put in those baskets is great. Also, if you are a business, or somebody who runs a business, you can host a fundraiser for us. Ceres Bakery for years has had a spooky cookie. And so, a portion of that sale goes to us. Sometimes places do a special drink or something. Loaded Question brewed a beer for us this year, Coven's Cauldron. And so we're getting some of the proceeds from that beer. And it's really any way you can think of to give the parade. If you want to support us, just reach out to us, and we're happy to work with you to try to find a way.
A spooky cookie and Coven's cauldron. Like, it's so
Great taste that go
meaningful.
great together.
Yes, it's just what a cool way to support the parade.
Mm.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we are
Um,
really blessed. This community is really amazing.
all of you who organize the parade, who volunteer as it gets closer, who help with the events, the folks like from the brewery and the bakery that help, you all must be such awesome people to spend time with.
Why, thank you. I like to think so. I mean, I think it's part of the reason I've stayed so long is I love the people who volunteer for the parade and help organize the parade because they're also just committed to like keeping Portsmouth weird, keeping Portsmouth a little weird, a little loud, a little freaky. And when you're doing something you love with people who are fun to hang out with, the time really does fly. And it's definitely flown by my time that I've spent organizing the parade. It's been pretty magical.
Is there anything that you either wish I had asked you during this chat, Amanda, or anything else that you think people would want to or should know about the parade?
I think just to say, if you're thinking about coming, come. You won't regret it.
I wholeheartedly concur. It's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Thank you for all of these years for being part of organizing it, Amanda, and giving this incredible night to people, and and creating that night of community that is so meaningful and matters so much and really makes a difference in for everybody. I thank you for that.
It's a labor of love and a little
And
blood, sweat, tears.
yeah, oh, I really can only imagine. And thank you for giving us your time out of today to tell us all about it, Amanda.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Jen. It's always a pleasure to talk about the parade.
To hear from more amazing women like this one, subscribe to Real Women's Work podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you for being here, for listening, for sharing, and thank you for being part of a community that is helping to raise the tide for all of us.